We'll start with a moment of reflection.
Let us be mindful of the needs of all our citizens and advance only those causes that will ensure peace and harmony in our community, now and always.
Our land acknowledgement, we'd like to begin by acknowledging the land on which we gather today is the land traditionally used by the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Chinootan people. We acknowledge the enduring presence and deep traditional knowledge and philosophies of the Indigenous peoples with whom we share this land today. Are there any declarations of a pecuniary interest in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? Seeing none. We have some minutes. I'll need a motion that the following minutes be adopted as presented. The minutes of the April 8th, 2025 council meeting, minutes of the April 22nd, 2025 committee of the whole meeting, moved by Councillor Seven, second by Councillor Wagner. All in favor, and that's carried. No petitions, no presentations, but we have delegations this evening. I'll need a motion now that the Council of the Township of Wellesley accept Mark Crowell, Regional Police, Waterloo Regional Police update, Eamon Martin, kennel owner, with a request for a waiver from the kennel bylaw microchipping requirement. Mosey Kipfer, kennel owner, request for a waiver from the kennel bylaw, also microchipping requirement. Motion to accept those as delegations. Councillor Brick, second by Councillor Herget, all in favor, and that's carried. We'll start with Chief Mark Crowell.
Well, good evening, Mayor Nowak, members of council, staff, and all those in attendance tonight. It's an honor to join you on behalf of all members of the Waterloo Regional Police Service, and I'm joined here tonight by some members of the team that I'll introduce as we move along. Move to the next slide, please. We're very honored to be serving this growing and thriving community. As we all know, Waterloo Region is one of the largest municipalities in all of Canada, one of the fastest growing communities, and we're here tonight to reinforce our commitment to policing across the region, but it's certainly within our rural communities, and namely Wellesley Township. And we are a mission and vision driven organization. We want to ensure that every single resident of this community is safe and feels safe. If we move to the next slide, please. What I'm going to do is just give you an overview of some of our policing activities in the rural communities in Wellesley in particular, and then broaden out to talk about the region and some of our efforts moving forward. So last year across the region of Waterloo, there was close to 350,000 occurrences where our members responded. That includes 911 calls for service, non-emergency calls, online reporting, and some of our generated calls at the divisions by our members. And about 2,300 of those were citizen-generated calls and officer-generated calls in Wellesley Township. And just with that context, the next slide details for 2025, we're focusing on a rural community strategy that is really seeking to be responsive and active in engagement. So the priorities that we lay before you are our commitment to community engagement. That is joining you in celebration and in building strategies and problem solving and trying to build our relationships in times of peace rather than times of crisis or times of concern. Also looking at crime suppression, recognizing that across this region there's a number of activities that continue to evolve in terms of victimization, property and security issues that I'll speak to moving forward, and also road safety. We know that road safety is the top community concern in every municipality, and certainly Wellesley is no different. I'm very pleased to be joined here tonight by Sergeant Jay Heiser, who is our rural community sergeant, and many of you will know Jay, and if you don't, his mission is to get to know you. He is meant to be a single point of contact for this council and this community, and his role is to be a bridge between citizens, leadership, and community representatives, and our leadership team to ensure that we are responsive and active in meeting local needs. And so Jay's mandate is really getting underway now, but he's very proud to be in this role, and he is a resident of Wellesley. We don't hold that against him, but we're very proud that he represents many of our members in that coordinating capacity. Also, we're looking to replicate the commitment and success we've had in the model of a community space. So the one that we have in Wellesley Township, we're also looking to replicate in Wilmot, and also we have one in North Dumfries already and one in Woolwich as well. We have found it to be not a perfect system, but at least a predictable, reliable place where the community can see us during hours, and also a meeting space that we can serve in a lot of ways. So we're looking to continue to expand that capacity to ensure that our rural communities are well served. On the next slide, it details just an overview of calls for service. I know the printing is small for some in the room, but if you were to add up the proportion of calls and activities that we're responsive to, more than half of them are related to traffic enforcement, road safety efforts, collision response, and on some of our proactive activities. And it does speak to the relative safety and the peacefulness of Wellesley Township. It also provides us opportunity to continue to refine our connected efforts on road safety efforts across the region. If you move to the next slide, it really shows some of our proactive road safety measures. Tonight we're joined by Staff Sergeant Scott Griffiths, who leads our traffic services unit, and he also serves as that coordinated leader when it comes to road safety efforts with his specialized traffic response and collision investigative team, but also coordinating traffic and road safety efforts across the region. And so you can see the number of our activities are focused on speeding and aggressive driving, impaired driving, distracted driving, and also seatbelt use. Those are known as the Fatal Four. When we look at our highest incident collisions related to fatalities or high injury collisions, those elements are often found within our responses. So we're really focused on trying to be as responsive as we can to the local needs, understanding that every community evolves. Every time that we put a road measure in place related to speed, could be a traffic calming measure, could be our efforts collectively on automated speed enforcement or other such measures, we recognize there's a change in behavior. With growth comes change as well. And we recognize that some of our greatest tragedies have occurred on our rural roadways disproportionately. And we want to do everything we can as a unified community to make our roads as safe as possible. So we will continue to work with you and be responsive to our community to serve you in the best way with our coordinated efforts on road safety. The next slide sort of takes us a bit of a step out of just Wellesley. I just want to highlight our regional violent crime trend in 2024. We've seen a 3-year trend of 21 shootings on average for the past 3 years. We're seeing a rise in some of our incidents involving firearms, real firearms and imitation firearms used in the commission of offenses like robberies and so on. Last year across the region we saw a doubling of carjackings, so that's the violent theft or robbery of a vehicle while somebody's walking to their car or in their vehicle. And there was 5 homicides across the region last year. 4 of 5 involved firearms. So this region is not immune to some of the trends we have seen across Ontario and across North America, and we're doing everything we can from a coordinated approach to deal with violent crime. The next slide talks about other trends that we're really working hard towards putting a dent in. Stolen vehicles continues to be a scourge across Ontario. Across Canada, there was a decrease in total motor vehicle thefts, and we've seen some success here. But we have seen coordinated organized crime groups continuing to infiltrate our region. And we know this is a global, national, provincial, and local issue. So we are making a good headway in intervening and making interventions within organized crime group activity. Reprogramming thefts and other type of activity continues to be an issue of top concern. And you'll also be aware of robberies in general. So we have around 250, 275 robberies a year. Half of those are person-on-person robberies, and the other half happen at commercial establishments and retail establishments. So these are amongst our top concerns. And if you move to the next slide, we've adopted a first-in-Canada approach with something called a stratified policing model and a crime suppression model. And this is really, to put it plainly, an evidence-driven approach looking at the highest levels of violence, victimization, and looking to coordinate all of our intelligence, all of our information sharing to look at the highest levels of victimization. And the next slide really just shows some of our efforts. So we have decentralized some of our teams to ensure that we have a localized approach to meeting our crime suppression efforts. we're looking at prolific offenders, prolific offenses, and it's often well known within law enforcement and policing that a small number of people are responsible for a high number of activity. Sometimes 80% of crime is related to a small number of individuals in organized crime groups. So that might seem elementary, but I can tell you we've made some concerted efforts to realign our resources. The biggest takeaway that I want to reinforce tonight is as much as our activity is concentrated at times in our urban centers, it does not mean that we're taking any step away from our commitment to rural communities, and Wellesley included in that. Victimization and crime can occur and does occur in any corner of this region. And so when it comes to break and enters, vehicle thefts, we know there are issues here that we can improve upon, and that will take a coordinated effort of all neighbors, small and large communities to make that concerted effort. So I know it's hard to see in the display, but we really want to ensure that you understand how central the rural sergeant is to coordinating all of our activities. And that helps to be agile and nimble to pull some of our specialized teams related to street crime, some of our undercover surveillance and covert teams that are infiltrating organized crime groups involved in multiple vehicle thefts or robberies and those types of things, and break and enters into wherever they need to be across the region, including this township. The next slide just provides a snapshot for those who may not be aware of how many specialized teams we have working across the region. I often describe that your average citizen only sees probably a third to a half of what our total capacity is. You may see an officer in a cruiser down the street, but really there's almost as many officers who are behind the scenes in plain clothes working in a covert specialized capacity. And we all know how the online world has grown as well. So we are tackling crime from so many different angles. And a lot of these divisional assets and teams are focused on coordinating our approaches across the region. The next slide just want to reinforce is as much as we are responsive and listening and dedicated to a localized approach to everything, we're also trying to be very smart about investing in the future and moving more towards crime prevention. And that requires us to look at areas to collaborate. There's something called a Waterloo Region Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan. And our CIOs and mayors and regional representatives are aware of our efforts to tackle things such as hate crimes, looking at intimate partner violence, gender-based violence, mental health and addiction needs, and other types of solutions. How do we bring our systems together? How do we create mutual understanding, mutual coordinated efforts? We have a leading role as a police service, and we're very proud to be doing this work. And the last area of focus I just want to highlight for you is our commitment to innovation and modernization. So much of our work is human resource based. So 90% of our operating budget is people deployed into the community in different ways, but we're also at every step, if you could just move to that. Perfect. The next one, it talks about our commitment to the digital revolution that we're living in. Our officers are very well equipped with the latest and the best technology. They're equipped with smartphone technology. Each one of our cruisers right now is equipped with in-car camera technology, automated license plate readers within the cars. We have body-worn cameras. These are some examples of what we are equipped with right now. We will be extending something called a remotely piloted aerial system program, better known as drone technology. That allows us many capacities for searching for missing persons, traffic reconstruction, all types of coordinated approaches, and we will be building a long vision public safety communications center that will harness some of this technology together. And we really want to be working with our emergency service partners, which include paramedic services, fire services, bylaw, and all other community services to ensure that we're coordinated, nimble, efficient, and very effective in our work. The last thing I'll mention, and it may seem too future focused, but artificial intelligence continues to provide us both challenges in terms of crime, but also opportunities for how we do our work. So we are very future focused on looking to see how can we use automation to do some of the analysis work that we do. Some examples might include when we're doing a regular investigation now, camera technology that is out there. Many citizens now are using dash cams, door cams, commercial video that provides us avenues for for opportunity to solve crimes after the fact and sometimes in real time. Oftentimes, we're overwhelmed with digital evidence during the course of our investigations. And so automated solutions are continuing to improve and to come on board. And we're often using camera and video surveillance technology to assist us and to solve crimes as well. So if you move to the last slide, as much as the end of this presentation focused on technology and innovation, the core of what we do is, again, people-based. And the purpose of us coming here tonight is to reinforce our commitment to this community. We want to ensure that you know us and you see us, and that is reciprocal. We can't solve the problems that we don't know about, but we want to ensure that you have access to us at every turn. We will come back to this council. We will meet you anywhere in the community that we can meet you to solve whatever problems we have together, because we know we can make our community safer, and it's an honor to be here. So, knowing that you have no questions, I'm happy to continue, and I may call upon a colleague if it's too tough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Council, questions, Council? Yes, Councilor Herget.
I noticed from your slides there was a 56% increase in speeding. Do you have any insight on what would have caused that? Is it maybe the photo radar or?
So what's reflected there is just the WRPS commitments to road safety and speed enforcement. So a lot of our work is complaint-driven and what I would call is evidence-driven. So we rely upon the complaints and the input from our community to guide where we need to be. And as I mentioned, and I can think of some examples in Wellesley and beyond, where sometimes some road work, some construction, or some activity might divert speeding and all sorts of activities, and that's where we need to be nimble and resourceful. So I can tell you, we're trying to look at the whole region, and there are more requests for traffic enforcement, visibility, and intervention than we can get to. But we're trying to look at the highest levels of danger, the highest levels of complaint, and the highest levels of risk all the time. So I would say Scott and his team are continuing to take a flood of requests and then using their resources to say, okay, in this corner of the region, this is the highest need right now based on multiple factors. It could be collisions, it could be injuries that have occurred, it could be complaints. So that might explain some of that. And we're happy to provide more information offline as well. Yeah.
So it's not necessarily that there's more speeders, there's just, could be that there's more enforcement.
Yeah, and it's an endless bucket of work. I can tell you, as I've sort of said in a couple ways, there's more demands put upon us than we can get to, but I can say when we have resources available, we're trying to stretch them as far as they can be. And so that leads us to every opportunity we can take to be visible and to educate and enforce when necessary.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Questions? Couple.
Sure.
At one time, there was a police officer assigned to schools.
Yes.
I thought that I had heard that, and then that program ended, but I thought I had heard something recently that is going to be reinstated. Is there any update on that?
So there's no true commitment to the school resource program as we knew it, but I can tell you we continue to work with all boards, but namely the public and the Catholic board at what can we do together. And so we're working on, it's called the police school protocols, finalizing those for this year. We've retained community and youth engagement officers, and we have a youth engagement strategy that is focused on what can we do in schools in partnership to provide education. It doesn't always need to be and can't always be the police. So there's no current plans to return to the school resource officer program within this region with either the Catholic, the public board, or the separate private schools. But we are committed to doing everything we can to commit with youth and students and the whole school communities.
Yeah, I think that's where you have to, be present with the youth and
Absolutely.
get them to appreciate the work that you're doing.
And that's why I mentioned the community safety and well-being plan, which speaks to moving towards prevention, education, trying to get the next generation involved and equipped to handle all the pressures and challenges that we face.
So one of the frustrated, unfortunately, I do follow Facebook.
Sure.
And sometimes I wish I didn't, but occasionally you'll see something on there. Somebody will post, well, there was somebody at my door that shouldn't have been there, or watch out because there's been people going up and down the street looking at their cars. And this sort of thing I see fairly often. Why don't they just call the police? Why do they put it on social media? I just, you know, it boggles my mind. Maybe they do call the police and I'm not aware of it, but.
So we have a joint public service message here. Please call us. If it's not during, please call us at any point in time. During when something's happened, after the fact, it's never too late. We need the intelligence, we need the information to coordinate our responses. We can't effectively deploy, we can't grow our resources, we can't alter or adapt our resources without knowing exactly where to go.
Yeah. Sometimes I think it'd be nice if everybody had a little magnet on their fridge that, you know, this is the number you call when you see something that's out of the ordinary.
Absolutely.
Because I don't know whether everybody's aware of that process. So anyway, just my thoughts.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for coming out. It's a lovely drive in the country, so I'm sure you enjoyed that.
Beautiful. Absolutely.
Some of our green spaces, and we certainly appreciate the work you're doing, and I want to thank all the guys and gals for the work that they do, so thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. Take care.
Okay, we will call on Eamon Martin. Yes. Did you?
Yeah, I don't have a lot to say, but I was wondering that we have a new deadline coming as kennel owner. We have this new bylaw coming out that it says we are supposed to comply with the new requirements by having all dogs and puppies in the kennel microchipped by August 27th of 2025. I think what's really happening is that several years ago, few years ago maybe, we were asked to start putting ID on all puppies before they leave the property, and with an option of tattooing. So, and now it says that on July 9 of 2024, the Council of the Township of Wellesley has approved amendment of subsection 11.1 and 11.2 of the Dog and Kennel Bylaw to remove tattooing as an option for the identification for all dogs and puppies in a kennel. So 11.1 said all dogs and puppies, exclusive of nursing puppies in a kennel, shall be microchipped or tattooed at all times in order to be able to properly identify each dog. And 11.2 was for puppies that are being sold, or dogs or puppies that are being sold. So with the new bylaw, we would be required to microchip everything in the kennel and what leaves the kennel. And my problem with it is that I'm not really comfortable with that level of technology, I guess, simply put. Just wondered if there could be an option, like, could we leave the permanent identification for the end user, or
Okay. Is there any questions? Councillor Wagner?
You mentioned about not being comfortable with that level of technology. What is your understanding of the technology of the microchip?
my understanding is that the microchip won't be of any use unless we have a reader or a scanner?
So the microchip isn't necessarily for you. The microchip is for the township for tracking purposes, because we came under fire several years ago in regards to what was happening with our kennels in this township. So the microchip is actually used more to, if that puppy or dog gets lost, whether it's from your kennel or from when the adopting family or person adopts it, that microchip is scanned by someone who owns a scanner, which is usually a veterinary practice or the Humane Society. So it's not, I just want to make sure that you understand, it's not something that tracks the animal. So you can't go onto what we would call an app on our cell phone or our laptop to track them. It is only when that animal is surrendered to a Humane Society or somebody takes it to their veterinarian because they found it and that chip is scanned, and it will either lead back to your kennel, where you would then have the information as to who you adopted that dog to, or the new owner has registered their information and that dog gets back to that owner. I just wanted to make sure that we were clear on what the technology of these microchips are.
Any other questions? Yes, Councillor Herger.
Currently, do you use the tattoo to identify your dogs in the kennel?
I do use the tattoos, and I also have a buyer that microchips once he has them, once he has the puppy.
Okay, so if you didn't tattoo, how would you identify the dogs if you didn't have a scanner?
I don't have a scanner.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Oh, sorry, Councillor Wagner.
Just to clarify for Councillor Herget, usually the kennel...
Get into a debate.
Oh, no. Usually a kennel wouldn't have a scanner. It would be more a vet clinic or the Humane Society or someone like our bylaw officer. So it wouldn't necessarily be that the kennel would... We wouldn't require the kennel to have it to scan, per se, to identify their dog. That's all I wanted to do was clarify that. Yeah.
Thank you for presenting. We'll call on Mosey Kipfer.
Good evening, everyone. I am here, similar concerns to Ammon. Yeah. I am also representing my brothers, Earl David, who are kennel owners in this township. And yeah, my brothers and I do have a concern regarding the microchipping of all dogs, or should I say of any dogs we own, as we want to be responsible residents of the Township of Wellesley, and yet we strive to be loyal members of the Amish Church. We thought this may cause an issue with the bishops, ministers, and members in the congregation. So rather than stir up trouble, we took this concern to the bishops, and the following letter was given to us. In regards to the new law you have passed, we leaders of the congregation are opposed. Excuse me, We leaders of the congregation are opposed to microchipping of any animals, horses, dogs, etc. This is based on our religious belief with Revelation 14 concerning to the fact that the day is coming when all people who want to buy or sell will likewise be chipped, or a comparable version of it. Our church refrains from the use of cell phones and other likewise technology, and do not find this procedure permissible for our brethren. Yours truly. Then it was signed by Bishop Ruben Yanzi, Bishop Menestriker, Bishop Emmanuel Wagler, and Bishop Jonas Kipfer. And I want to express our sincere thanks to the councillors in the Township of Wellesley that we are still able to express our concerns freely. It is truly a privilege. I realize that is not so all over the world. Thanks again.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Oh, yes. Councillor Seven.
So do you have on-farm businesses in your community? Like you have other on-farm businesses?
Yes.
Do you use cell phones for those businesses?
No, our congregation, as far as I know, there are no cell phones in our congregation.
Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Herget.
Oh, one
Oh,
more
just
question.
One more.
Is there any advantage when you're selling the dogs, like do the buyers prefer that they're microchipped or?
Well, I spoke with one of my buyers. I said that the township would like if we would tattoo them. And she asked me why. She said she would have buyers that would be opposed to having the microchip in the dog because it would be of no use to them. And I told her we are opposed to it too, and I don't imagine we'll be doing it. And after I give this over to the bishops, I can see where, if it comes to that, we're going to have to step back. I have no problem with tattooing. There's no scanner involved. Currently, all my females, all my adult dogs are tattooed. We take the first 4 letters of the name and tattoo that into the ear. But I also have a daughter. She can walk in the kennel, and currently I have 34 dogs. She can walk into the kennel and call each female or male by name. So the tattoo at this point, we don't really use it much, but I still have the dogs tattooed under the bylaw that is required.
Councillor Wagner.
So just back to Councillor Seben's question, you have on-farm shops,
Yes,
and in those shops, do you have landline telephones?
no,
In those shops, are you required to have health and safety inspections done?
there are
For-
some shops
for your
that
equipment?
they have that, yes.
So your on-farm shop doesn't? You don't have any inspections done for your business that you do?
Well, Philip comes out and inspects the kennel.
Okay, and so just out of curiosity, do you particularly have an on-farm shop?
Yes,
So for your shop, you're not required to have equipment inspected? You don't have health and safety standards that are inspected?
no, I don't.
Okay. And then my other question was, when you say you have a buyer, are you talking about a broker?
A broker, yes.
And your broker, you referred to her as a she? She doesn't understand how microchips are used to the end user or the end adopter? Because you stated that she said they're useless, which they're not useless. So I think there's some education there as well. But you said she said they're useless.
Yes, she stated that not everybody has a scanner and not everybody has a use for that microchip. Therefore, she said she's never going to push for it.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Club. Okay, move forward. Thank you very much. Call the comments. No closed session. We go into the committee of the whole. I need a motion that council rise and go into the committee of the whole to receive reports and recommendations. Moved by Councillor Brick, second by Councillor Herget. All in favor? And that's carried. Move right to planning and development.
P&D 7/2025, the Community Improvement Plan Update. I need a motion that the Council of the Township of Wellesley adopt bylaw 14/2025 to approve the Township of Wellesley Community Improvement Plan dated May 2025. And further, that the Council of the Township of Wellesley put into effect the 2025 programs outlined in Table 1 of this report. And further, that the Council of the Township of Wellesley authorize funding in the amount of $30,000 from CIP Reserve Fund to eligible projects in 2025. And further, that the Council of the Township of Wellesley delegate its responsibility for approving or refusing applications for financial incentive programs to the CIP Implementation Committee. May I have a mover? Councillor Wagner, secondary Councillor Seven. Would the director like to bring this forward?
Thank you, Councillor Brick. Good evening, everyone. We're excited to bring forward the update to the Community Improvement Plan, which we've been working hard on. And I'll just walk you briefly through the report, but first the recommendation. There's 4 parts of it. Councillor Brick just read it out. The first thing that we have to do, if you're happy with the plan, is we have to pass it by a bylaw that's required under the Planning Act. And the bylaw includes the plan. So the plan is an appendix to the bylaw. And that's how it becomes in force and effect. The second is in the plan, and I think we talked about this previously, you can choose which programs you want to put into effect for each year. And so we put a list of programs together in Table 1, which I'll go through in a minute, that we would offer to the businesses and eligible businesses. The third is how much money do we want to spend out of the reserve fund. We're recommending $30,000 for 2025. And then finally, the delegation of approving or refusing applications would go to the Implementation Committee. The Implementation Committee, as outlined in the plan, is the CAO, the Director of Development Services, and the Chief Building Official. The Director of Public Works can also act as an alternate. Okay, so that's the recommendation before you, but I just want to make sure that we're all aware that we did quite a bit of public engagement and input on this. It's detailed in the report. It's certainly we engaged with the agencies, Municipal Affairs and Housing, the region, GRCA, First Nations communities. And out of all that, and of course with the business owners, the meetings, the public stakeholder meetings we had, and out of those, out of that engagement and consultation, we had just need to make a couple minor changes to the plan, as you saw it before. One, a couple minor mapping changes just on the boundary to the Wellesley Community Improvement Area, just really just kind of tidying up kind of the boundary from last time, nothing major there. And then some minor adjustments to the application criteria for the additional dwelling unit grant program to ensure that it only applies within the Wellesley and the St. Clements community improvement areas. Because we certainly, the intent of the plan is not to fund or incentivize additional dwelling units everywhere in the township. Primarily, it's meant to incentivize additional dwelling units near our core areas so that we can get some additional types of dwellings, range of housing near our downtowns. Of course, I talked a little bit about the amount of money that we would like to put into the fund or into applications this year. And the broad, on the third page of the report, you'll see the programs that we're recommending. I think we're recommending a broad range of programs simply for the fact that for lack of a better way of explaining it, it would be very strange if we went out to the public and said, let's do a brand new community improvement plan with all these wonderful programs, yet we're only going to let you apply to 1 or 2 of them. So we figured that it's best to cast the net broad and see what we get. Certainly, the applications will be reviewed on a first-come, first-served basis. And so there's no obligation to fund any or all of them. We'd probably choose the best ones as they come in, the best benefit to the township in alignment with the goals of the plan. So that's our intention there. There's two programs that we're excluding from 2025. That's the parking optimization grant and the tax increment equivalent grant. The parking optimization grant, through all our engagement consultation, wasn't really identified as a priority at this time, maybe in the future. And of course, the tax increment equivalent grant is quite a costly program. It's very useful, though, if you have a project that's, let's call it shovel-ready. So if you know something that's happening and we want to incentivize that, maybe a priority site that's occurring already, then that's a very useful program. But if you don't know where you might want to apply it, it can be a very costly program if you get several of them at a time, because it's an increment grant. It's a rebate, essentially, or a deferral, I guess, over time of taxes that result as a result of a project. So other than that, staff is very pleased with the plan. I want to thank Nethery Planning, who was, and I believe Emily's on there online with us tonight to answer any questions that you have. But a fantastic job. It was great working with them, and we're hoping that you agree with us. So I'll take any questions if anybody has any.
Questions, Councillor Hargett?
I was looking at the mayor.
No, go ahead. I'll follow up.
How much money was allocated last year and how much of it was used?
So I believe last year, I don't believe we allocated any money because we knew that we were updating this plan. So there was no money allocated. There was no money used.
Okay, so the last time you allocated money?
I believe the last time that we had an application was 2023 for the bulk pantry, for the work that was done on the bulk pantry. And I don't believe we came to council with an allocation because we still had money, I think, left over from the previous year. And it was a program that was already active. So we felt it was, the implementation committee felt comfortable approving that application.
So the 30,000 that goes in this year would stay there till it's spent?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Questions?
So it's called the TIG grant?
Yeah, tax increment equivalent grant.
That's remedial work on a contaminated site.
It can apply to that, yeah. Yes, it can.
Doesn't the region have that program in place?
So that's one, I'm sure I mentioned that in a previous meeting, but I'm not sure, maybe I didn't. But as a result of some of the Bill 23 changes to the Planning Act, the region advised through their comments on our plan that they no longer had the authority under the Planning Act or the Municipal Act to implement that program. So it's certainly unfortunate, but we can still do it ourselves with our own. But the regional portion of that had to come out of our plan.
Yeah, I just wasn't clear on that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so it's a township, portion.
Any further questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That's carried unanimous. Thanks.
Okay, Road and Bridge, Councillor Herget.
Thank you, Mayor Nowak. RNB 7/2025 to 2025 gravel resurfacing program. Motion required. Whereas the Public Works Department tenders annually for gravel resurfacing for a portion of our gravel road network, which includes supply and hauling of granular A gravel to various roads throughout the township. And whereas the tender process has not provided satisfactory results in the previous 2 years, and whereas staff were able to obtain more cost-effective quotes through sourcing the supply and delivery of granular A through request for quotations rather than tender, therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Wellesley approves staff to forego the tendering requirement set out in the purchasing policy based on past practice for the gravel maintenance program in 2025, and further, that contract number 2025-05 be awarded to Ontario Custom Aggregates Incorporated to supply and deliver granular A to be used for gravel resurfacing for a total pre-tax cost of $332,500. Can I get a mover? Councillor Wagner, seconded by Councillor Brick. The director is not here, but are there any questions for the CAO?
I'll answer any questions that I can.
I just have, what was the budgeted amount?
I believe the budget amount was $360,000.
Okay. Any more questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that's carried unanimous.
Okay, we'll go past property and fire, and we'll go to admin and finance. AF&P 15-2025, the Innova shareholder nominee extension, and the motion's required, and the recommendation is that the Council of the Township of Wellesley approve the initial 3-year term of the independent director, Arnold Drung, of the corporation, be amended to expire at the annual meeting of the shareholders in 2026 of August 31st, 2025. Have a mover for that, please. Councillor Seven, second by Councillor Wagner. And any questions of staff on this? I think, did you want to make a comment?
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing to add, but if anybody has any questions, I'll try and answer them.
No questions? Call the question, all in favor? And that's carried unanimous. Go to recreation, Councillor Wagner.
Thank you, Mayor Nowak. Rec 4 2025-2025 outdoor special occasion permit requests, motion required. Recommendation that the Council of the Township of Wellesley approve the listed 2025 outdoor special occasions permits at township facilities, and further that the council delegate authority to the Director of Recreation to approve any future requests in 2025 as set out within the parameters of the municipal alcohol policy. Do I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Seven, seconded by Councillor Brick. I'm going to ask the Director for a quick update because I know there's a change.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Wagner. There does need to be one small change in this, excuse me, in this report. The date of the Don Green Memorial Tournament is listed as August 9th and 10th. It is actually August 8th and 9th. I did get an update from the Lions Club that it's the Saturday and the Friday and the Saturday and the Sunday, not the Friday and the Saturday. So again, this is just a report that comes before council every year. It's a requirement under the AGCO for special occasions permits for events held on municipal property. So I'll take any questions if there are.
Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you. I will call a vote. All in favor of the recommendation? Carried unanimously.
Service boards reports.
I don't think there are any. Does anyone have a service board report? I know that the Hawksville Rec Board is meeting this evening with the community of Hawksville in regards to the building. But other than that, they've not provided any reports, so.
Okay, move forward. Recommendation that the Committee of the Whole rise and council resume and report. Moved by Councillor Brick, second by Councillor Herget. All in favor? And that's carried. A recommendation that the report of the Committee of the Whole be adopted as set forth in the motions and actions detailed above. Moved by Councillor Seven, second by Councillor Wagner. All in favor? And that's also carried. No information package, material, accounts, unfinished business, new business. Councillor Herget?
Just, I will be bringing forward a notice of motion at the June 10th meeting regarding identification of dogs in Wellesley Township kennels.
So we're all aware of that. Anything else? We'll move to the CAO update.
Thanks, Mayor Nowak. Just a few things to update tonight. The Wellesley Pond, GRCA has indicated that engineering is complete. A contractor has been selected for the work. They anticipate it'll start in a week or two. They're waiting for DFO approval. And the work will take approximately 2 weeks to complete. So hopefully in a 4-week period, they can start filling that again. And just wanted council and the public to know that any other changes done to the pond would require environmental assessment, so a full EA process. So that's why no dredging or anything could happen at this time. Reimagining the Wellesley Arena lands, the old Wellesley Arena. We had 2 public input sessions last week. They were both attended fairly well, and the survey is now open to the public, and I believe those are starting to come in. And the last thing I have is that the mayors and CAOs do continue to meet to prepare for any tariffs, or impacts of the tariffs, I should say, from the US, so that we're trying to stay ahead of things and stay on top so we know what's going on. So, happy to take any questions from council.
Questions? No? Councillor Seven?
If we get thoughts from residents on what they'd like to see happen with the lands, do you want it forwarded to you or to everybody, or how do you want us to handle that?
Yeah, ideally it'll come in through the survey, but if they can't do it through the survey, if they could forward those comments on to Tim as the director, I think, is that the best, Tim?
Yeah, absolutely. There's also, we're doing, we're printing some hard copy surveys and putting them at the rec center in Wellesley and also at our office. I think those are the only 2 places we're doing it, but people can also request that through email if they don't.
Could we maybe have some put at the post office in Linwood or something like that for
Yep.
the Amish people, or?
Yep, I don't see why not.
I don't know that anyone's going to want to fill it out, but
Sure.
shot.
Okay. Yep, we can do that.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. We'll move to bylaws. We have a bylaw to levy taxes for the year 2025. We have a bylaw to provide for an alternative voting method for 2026, a bylaw to adopt updated community improvement plan, and a bylaw to confirm all actions. So I'll need a motion that bylaw 12, 13, 14, and 15 of 2025 be read first and second time. Moved by Councillor Seven, second by Councillor Wagner. All in favor, and that's carried. I need a motion that the same bylaws be read a third time and passed, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign and seal the bylaw under the corporate seal. Moved by Councillor Herget, second by Councillor Brick. All in favor, and that's carried. Next meeting, May 27th. Council, June 10th. Committee of the Whole, June 24th. Councillor Wagner, have something to say?